Imagine this. You are running on a treadmill in a pristine, white room. The display in front of you doesn't show distance or calories. It tracks a single fluctuating metric, your social validation score. With every like, every promotion, every admiring glance you imagine from a stranger, the number ticks up. A hit of dopamine, a fleeting warmth. You run faster. But the treadmill accelerates to match you. The score begins to plateau. You see a colleague's vacation photos, a friend's engagement, a viral post from a teenager with more insight than you've ever had. The number dips. A cold trickle of anxiety. You sprint now, lungs burning, legs leaden, chasing a score that is forever slipping just beyond your fingertips. This is not a dystopian fiction. This is the architecture of your daily life, the invisible treadmill of modern existence, where we have been taught that the goal is to feel good all the time. This is the haunting paradox Mark Manson places at your feet in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. The central, maddening contradiction of our age, that the relentless pursuit of a positive experience is, in itself, a negative experience. That the frantic avoidance of pain and struggle is the very source of our pain and struggle. We are the most comfortable, connected, and informed generation in history. And yet, a low-grade despair is the watermark on our souls. Why? Why does having more freedom, more options, and more comfort feel so much like a cage? Manson argues it is because we have been sold a bankrupt formula for happiness. We have confused a wonderful life with an easy one. We believe the goal is to have no problems, so we spend our energy desperately trying to sidestep them, to outrun them, to numb ourselves to them. But here is the book's first gut-punch revelation. Life is an endless series of problems. Happiness is not the absence of problems. It is the process of solving problems we find meaningful. The better question, the one that will echo through the rest of this journey, is not, how do I stop having problems? But what kind of suffering am I willing to tolerate? What kind of FCKS are worth giving? Because you are already giving them. Constantly. Your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth, these are your finite currencies of FCKS. And you are spending them on everything. The rude comment from a stranger online, the perceived slight at a meeting, the anxiety that you are not living your best life as advertised. You are fiscally irresponsible with your FCS, bankrupting yourself on trivialities, leaving nothing for the things that truly matter. The deep relationships, the craft that demands your sweat, the values that anchor you in a storm. So the subtle art is not about indifference. It is about ruthless, intentional prioritization. It is the recognition that to give a FCK about something important, you must not give a FCK about 100 other things. The book is the key to that locked door in your mind, the one behind which you've hidden the uncomfortable question. What if I've been chasing the wrong score this whole time? The treadmill is waiting, but Manson offers you the emergency stop button. Do you dare press it? If this counterintuitive key has begun to turn a lock in your mind, then subscribe. The next turn reveals the hidden force that built the prison. Let us know in the comments. What is the treadmill you feel you're running on right now? The treadmill did not build itself. You did not simply wake up one day and choose its frantic pace. You were led there, step by step, by a force so pervasive it has become the very air we breathe. Mark Manson names this force. He diagnoses the hidden problem, the root of our modern sickness, the cult of the positive, a societal dogma that insists happiness is a default state we are entitled to, and that any deviation from feeling good, looking good, and being perpetually inspired is a personal failure. This is not positive thinking. This is mandatory positivity. It's the tyrannical whisper in every self-help book that shouts, just be happy. It's the social media feed curated to showcase only peak experiences. It's the internalized pressure to shrug off pain with a hashtag blessed, hashtag grind, hashtag good vibes only. Manson drags this cult into the light and exposes its foundational flaw. By demanding we feel good all the time, It makes feeling bad feel worse. It layers shame on top of sadness, anxiety on top of anger. Your natural human suffering is now compounded by the belief that you are failing at being human. This is where Manson connects to a darker, more honest thread of philosophy. He is not channeling the Stoics from a sunlit porch. He is sitting with Carl Jung in the shadow-filled study of the psyche. The cult of the positive demands we deny our shadow self, the parts of us that are angry, insecure, lazy, fearful, and selfish. We are told to let go of negativity, to transcend our base instincts. But the shadow, Jung warned, does not disappear when ignored. It gains power. It leaks out in passive aggression, in unconscious self-sabotage, in explosive outbursts over minor inconveniences. Your repressed frustration about your career doesn't vanish. It manifests as seething resentment toward your partner for leaving dishes in the sink. The cult has given you a broken metric for life. You are told to measure your worth by how you feel in the moment, by your fleeting emotional state. This, Manson argues, is a trap of epic proportions. When you prioritize how you feel, you become a slave to whatever stimulus is in front of you. The difficult conversation is avoided because it feels scary. The meaningful project is abandoned because it feels tedious. The honest confrontation with yourself is sidelined because it feels painful. You are letting your fucks be governed by the whim of your immediate emotions, a dictator with no long-term vision. This is the silent catastrophe unfolding in your life. You are avoiding valid pain in the service of a fraudulent positivity. You are abandoning the gritty, meaningful building sites of your life, your integrity, your responsibilities, your deep loves, because they require suffering. And you are instead spending your emotional capital chasing the phantom of a problem-free existence. The consequence? A life built on sand, where every wave of authentic emotion threatens to wash it all away. You are so busy managing your feelings that you have forgotten to build a self worthy of feeling anything about. But if the problem is this deep, if the cult's roots have wrapped around our very definition of a good life, what has this truly cost us? What does a world and a mind shaped entirely by this desperate avoidance actually look like? The answer is not a simple sigh of discontent. It is a psychological landscape more bizarre and more treacherous than you have allowed yourself to see. The cult of the positive does not merely leave you feeling vaguely unfulfilled. It engineers a reality. It constructs a hall of mirrors where every reflection is a demand, and every exit is sealed with the label, "Your fault." Manson pulls you through this funhouse, showing you the tangible, grotesque consequences of a world addicted to feeling good. The first and most profound consequence is the feedback loop from hell. You feel anxiety about your career, so you seek the immediate relief of online validation. The dopamine hit feels good for a second, but it solves nothing. The underlying anxiety remains, now tinged with shame for wasting time. So you seek a stronger hit, a purchase, a binge, a new dramatic distraction. Each cycle pushes the real problem further down while making you more reliant on the superficial cure. You are not solving the equations of your life. You are just mashing the equals button on a broken calculator, hoping a different answer will appear. Your psychology becomes a Ponzi scheme, borrowing tomorrow's emotional stability to pay for today's numbing distraction until the entire structure collapses. This loop corrupts your very values. Manson introduces a brutal litmus test. What is your pain pointed at? In the cult, pain is the enemy to be annihilated, but in a sane life, pain is a compass. The marathon runner endures muscular agony for the value of achievement. The parent tolerates sleepless nights for the value of loving their child. Your suffering reveals what you actually care about. But when you've been taught that all suffering is a mistake, you instinctively shift your values toward whatever promises the least friction. You begin to value comfort over character. You prioritize being liked over being real. You chase a cool lifestyle over a coherent, solid self. You have, in essence, outsourced your worth to a marketplace that only trades in illusions. Look at the societal artifacts of this. The performative outrage that is more about virtue signaling than creating change. The toxic positivity that dismisses genuine grief with a hollow, everything happens for a reason. The endless self-optimization that treats humans as apps in need of constant updates. We have created what Manson might call an entitlement epidemic, not of material things, but of emotional states. We feel entitled to ease, to understanding, to success, without the grueling, unsexy process those things demand. When reality inevitably refuses to comply, we don't question our entitlement. We conclude the world is unfair, or worse, that we are uniquely broken. The stakes are not mere dissatisfaction. They are the quiet tragedy of a life deferred. A life spent polishing the surface while the foundation rots. You become a museum guard for an empty gallery, protecting a collection of trophies that mean nothing to you, haunted by the echo of what you might have built, what you might have loved, what you might have been, if only you had chosen a better class of problem. You are living in the aftermath of a war you didn't know you were fighting, against an enemy that was only ever a phantom. But what if there was a way to step out of the hall of mirrors? Not by breaking them in a frenzy, but by turning your back on them entirely? What if the prescription wasn't to feel better, but to get better at feeling? The path out is not upward toward a blinding, false light. It is downward through the very soil you've been trying to avoid. It requires a tool you've been told is a weakness. Your conscious, chosen, unwavering embrace of a certain kind of no. If you recognize the funhouse you've been walking through, subscribe to see the map that leads you out. What consequence resonates most with you, the feedback loop or the corrupted values? Share your thoughts below. The way out of the funhouse is not through another door labeled eternal bliss. It is through the one door you have been instructed to barricade, the one marked responsibility. This is Manson's counterintuitive radical prescription. Not responsibility for the world's suffering or for others' emotions, but what he calls responsibility, the ability to choose your response right now to the facts of your life, regardless of how you feel about them. Happiness is not a destination you reach by avoiding pain. It is a side effect of taking ownership of your pain. The framework is deceptively simple, a brutal arithmetic for the soul. You must choose what to give F*CK about, and you must do so while staring your own limitations directly in the face. Manson calls this the law of avoidance. You cannot be spared from problems. You can only trade your current set of problems for a new, hopefully better set. Are you lonely? That's a problem of social connection. Do you want a deep relationship? You must now adopt the better problems of compromise, vulnerability, and occasional conflict. The goal is to upgrade your problems from those of avoidance and superficiality to those of engagement and meaning. Stop asking, what do I want to feel? Start asking, what pain do I want in my life? What am I willing to struggle for? This is where the art becomes subtle. It is not a blanket nihilism. It is the discipline of discernment. Manson provides the tools, the practice of saying no, the rejection of the grandiose. Change the world fantasies in favor of embracing the mundane, immediate boundaries before you. Saying no to a distraction is saying yes to your craft. Saying no to the need to be right in an argument is saying yes to the health of the relationship. Saying no to the shame of your past failures is saying yes to your present agency. You are the insecure, flawed, and dying custodian of a finite number of fucks. You must budget with the severity of a wartime economist. He anchors this in a powerful, grounding metaphor, the do something principle. You are paralyzed by the anxiety of writing a novel. Don't try to feel motivated. Don't wait for inspiration. Action is not the result of motivation. It is the cause of it. Sit down. Write one terrible sentence. The action itself, no matter how small, generates a shift in your perception, creates a new reality, and begins to rewire the feedback loop. You are not waiting to feel good to act. You are acting to discover what is worth feeling good about. This is the profound mindset shift. You stop being a passive weather vane, spun by every gust of emotion and external validation. You become the builder in the rain and the sun, whose hands are calloused, but whose creation stands on solid ground. You accept the most liberating and terrifying truth of all. You are always choosing. Even inaction is a choice. And with that acceptance comes an immense power. The cult of the positive told you that you were entitled to a great life, and then blamed you for not having it. Manson's prescription says, you are entitled to nothing, but you are responsible for everything that matters to you. It is a transfer of power from the chaotic universe back to your own scarred, capable hands. But this raises a final, chilling, and exquisite question. If you successfully navigate this path, if you become the conscious curator of your struggles and the sovereign of your F***CKS, what awaits you on the other side? What is the ultimate truth of a life lived not in pursuit of happiness, but in pursuit of something far more durable? The ultimate truth Manson leaves you with is not a secret to happiness. It is something sturdier, more weatherproof, the sovereignty of your own values in a universe of chaos. The book's final, synthesizing revelation is that you do not discover meaning out there like a hidden treasure. You assign it through the problems you are willing to endure, through the F***CKs you consciously choose to give. You are the author, not the archaeologist, of your purpose. This is the paradigm shift that alters the landscape permanently. After this book, you can no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstance, desperately trying to rearrange the external world to feel okay. You see yourself as a willing participant in a difficult, beautiful, and absurd game. The question shifts from what can I get from life to what can I bring to it? The central mystery of your existence is no longer, why is this happening to me? But what does this happening enable me to become? This is the essence of the counterintuitive approach. True liberation is not freedom from responsibility, but freedom through responsibility. By embracing your role as the chooser, you transcend the passivity that made you a slave to your feelings. Manson concludes by guiding you to the bedrock, the only place solid enough to build upon: death. Not as a morbid fixation, but as the ultimate grounding mechanism, the whisper of perspective. The cult of the positive tells you to ignore death, to stay in the shallow end of perpetual youth and distraction. But Manson, echoing the Stoic memento mori, argues that remembering you will die is the most powerful tool to clarify your life. In the face of the inevitable end, all the trivial F***CKs you give, the status games, the resentments, the need to be right, crumble to dust. What remains? Only what you truly, deeply care about. Your finitude is not a curse. It is the boundary that makes your choices meaningful. You are handed a block of marble, your time, your energy, and you are sculpting until the chisel is taken from your hand. The urgency is not to carve faster, but to carve truer. So as you close this chapter, you are not handed a map to a promised land. You are handed a compass and a warning. The compass is your capacity to choose your suffering. The warning is that you will forget. The world will scream its demands. Your emotions will rise like a storm, and the treadmill will always be there, humming its seductive, empty promise. The subtle art is the daily, quiet practice of returning to your chosen ground, of looking at the chaos, and instead of asking for it to change, asking yourself the only question that ever matters: what is my responsibility here? The book's lasting impact is not a feeling, it is a posture. A slight, almost imperceptible straightening of the spine, a relaxation of the frantic grip. You look out at the same world, but you see it differently. You see the treadmill for what it is, a choice. And you see the rocky, uncertain, authentic path as another. One leads to a comfortable, familiar emptiness. The other leads to a difficult, unknown meaning. You are no longer haunted by the question of whether you are happy. You are too busy building something with the time you have left, brick by heavy brick, problem "My precious problem." The final page turns. The real work begins.